Zoom, of course, a new and important part of many of our lives, and now it can even be used as evidence in court. Oh yay, Fox 5 legal analyst Wendy Patrick joins us now to explain. Wendy, good morning.
Good morning, Raul.
Now, for the record, this is not Zoom that we're doing right here. Or is it?
No, it's not. Maybe it will be soon, but no, we're using alternate technology, which could also be used in court, Raul, so let's be careful of what we say.
Okay, so what happened in this case?
Well, this was a very sad case in one respect. It had to do with literally murder in the Zoom room. How's that for a title?
Oh, wow.
It had to do with a man that was in an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting with about 20 others. And they're calling this the Amityville Horror. That's actually where he was when other participants saw him slide off the screen. And then other participants, talk about traumatic, saw some of the aftermath of what ended up being a murder. Now, I suppose, good news is that 911 was called immediately by some of the other Zoom participants. The bad news is while they knew his identity, they didn't know his address. So it took them about 10 to 15 minutes to figure it out. Police were dispatched to the scene and they actually did catch the perpetrator, who tragically was a family member. But the fact that Zoom was able to capture so much of not only the crime, but the aftermath, including the identity of the perpetrator, just goes to illustrate, we thought Alexa might be a good witness in court.
Sure.
Zoom may be a good witness also.
Yeah, and that was a good comparison with Alexa, but how do you use the evidence and the technology differently or perhaps the same in a courtroom?
Two ways. You use it first as an investigative tool. So in this case, and remember, many Zoom meetings are actually recorded. You can watch the recording back and look at on the screen and listen to what people are saying and find out who joined the meeting. Alexa gave you a limited amount of material because remember, that was just audio only. And sometimes you couldn't even authenticate who may have been in the room. So it's an investigative tool, but somebody has to be around to properly authenticate it in a courtroom, whether you use it in a civil court or in a criminal court. And that's the beauty of having actually participants being tracked. Sometimes there are passwords. You know a lot about of who's on a call. That helps you when you want to use the evidence not only to investigate something in the criminal or the civil sphere, but also to be able to properly authenticate it in a courtroom where it'll ever be able to be shown to a judge and to a jury.
I'm glad you mentioned authentication, because I was going to say, well, why can't you say, well, maybe the video's been altered? That's been a defense before with pictures and other videos and even surveillance cameras. Oh, it's been altered.
That will continue to be a problem here as well. With any kind of technological evidence you introduce in a courtroom, you may have a battle of the experts where you're going to have somebody be able to explain to the judge or jury why this is exactly what we're representing that it is. But let's say you can't even use it in a courtroom. Alexa and Zoom and other types of modern technology can still be used as investigative tools. We can use that to spark new investigations, to track down potential witnesses, as this case in New York. They knew who was on the call. They were able to have those witnesses speak to detectives, and from those leads, they were able to find and apprehend the perpetrator.
That's unbelievable. Can you imagine on a Zoom call something like that happening? So what happens next in this particular case?
Well, in this particular case, they already have somebody in custody. They have him charged with murder. He's being arraigned today. But you can imagine, sadly, this was the first case, but we know it's not going to be the last case. We are literally living on video. Many people go through their entire days on Zoom meetings, not just work related. Here's really the wild card. There are plenty of meetup groups, special interest groups, travel sessions where they're open to the general public, and we don't have the data gathered about the different participants to be able to track them down as they were in this particular support group. So we're all going to be learning together as to how we can use Zoom to be an investigative tool. The next case that comes up, Earl, you and I will probably be talking about that as well. But suffice it to say, it provides the kind of details that at least help us to keep a community safer if we know who's on the call.
Tell you what, it's a new age and the law is kind of adjusting to everything as we are. Wendy Patrick,
That's right.
Thank you so much as always.
Thanks, Raul.